All right, thank you for staying with us. The countdown to the finals of the Africa Cup of Nations is on, and come Sunday, thousands of eyeballs will be keenly watching the football match between Nigeria and host country Ivory Coast. But so many moments led up to this final game as the hopes of many countries who had come to AFCON dreamed of victory were dashed. For Nigerians and Ivorians, it will be a fight to the finish after both countries emerged winners to reach this final stage. The Super Eagles of Nigeria defeated Bafana of South Africa in Wednesday's AFCON semi-finals to qualify for the final of the 2024 Africa Cup of Nations, while the Elephants of Ivory Coast beat Leopards of DR Congo to make it to the final round. Well, joining us in the studio is TVC News sports correspondent Mia Akiri. Mia, good morning. It's good to have you on set.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Right. It was a pulsating moment. Unfortunately, let me even begin from the perspective of the about 5 persons that lost their lives as a result of that match, semi-final match. May their soul continue to rest in peace. But then it was tension-packed.
Tension soul.
As in, I wonder how you were feeling while you were watching that match. Let me even get your perspective first.
I was tense, on paper, the South Africans had the advantage if the match was going to go into penalty. Ask any analyst in world football today, they will tell you based on what the South African goalkeeper had done, especially in the match against Cape Verde. And it was very recent. It was on form. Everyone felt when it comes to penalties, at the AFCON tournament, it was arguably the number one. Fans, analysts felt it was always going to stop at least 1 or 2 penalties. If it could stop 4 against Cape Verde, psychologically, the advantage, was on the side of the South Africans. But this is football. Like they say, you can never tell where the biscuits will crack. Interestingly, my head wanted Nigeria as a Nigerian, but then my heart was a bit emotional because I felt it could go either way. But by and large, I was also happy with the fact that the Eagles had exceeded expectation.
Nobody gave them a chance.
I never gave them a chance. I must admit it. Because going into the tournament, the Eagles weren't playing the best of football. The Nigerian national team were a shadow of themselves. They were struggling. Not so many Nigerians. In fact, before the AFCON tournament, what a lot of people were saying was the fact that the coach's contract should not be extended because his contract should expire after the AFCON tournament. But the good thing was the fact that Peseiro, one way or the other, had a vision. This will be Peseiro's first trophy at the international level as a coach. When Peseiro came in and took over the reins of the Super Eagles job, what he said was, I want to win the AFCON trophy. And I felt maybe Peseiro wanted to lash on the fact that you're coaching the Nigerian national team. Everywhere Peseiro went to, he had struggled. Take a look at Peseiro's CV. Believe me, if Peseiro is giving his CV to another country, the Nigerian national team will be number 1. It will be the highlight of Peseiro's CV. So I never gave him a chance. We were struggling going to the tournament. Our first game, we drew. But the good thing also is we've always known the Eagles, that they have what it takes to indeed improve with every game. In 2013, when they won the Nations Cup, under Stephen Okechukwu of blessed memory, they struggled going into the tournaments, especially at AFCON tournaments. Before the game against the Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire, officials of the then Nigerian Football Federation were already planning to come back to Nigeria. But this is football. This is interesting. Now, lo and behold, the Eagles will be playing against the hosts. If they've come this far, now it's time to start dreaming of another AFCON trophy. 1918, 1994, 2013. Now, in 2024, AFCON 2023, as it is known on CAF's calendar, can we go a step further?
Well, looking at, the Peseiro point, I didn't want to ask this question, but with what you have said now, so do you see like this is the reason why he was hired in the first place. Do you see a bit of, his exemplary skills now in the selection of players and, all that has helped Nigeria thus far?
The technicalities and all. Yeah.
So, good thing is, you see, like they say, a player is as good as his last game. And in football, managers will also be judged, by results they churn out. It would be unfair of anyone, including I, to take away the credits from Jose Peseiro. The vision when he came in and when he spoke with the media, check anywhere, YouTube or whatsoever, Peseiro kept harping on the fact that I want to win the Nations Cup trophy. He's in the final today. I would want to say he worked for it. How? We've always known over the years, journalists who travel with the Super Eagles, who follow Nigerian football over the years, we have the talents. Nigeria have what it takes to rule the world at the highest level. Unfortunately, we don't plan. Unfortunately, we don't give our all. Now, before the AFCON tournament, there were backlog of salaries being owed the players. The president came to the rescue of the Nigerian Football Federation by releasing funds. See, there is always this. See, one thing about footballers is when they give their all, they're just like kids, inverted commas. Kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Whatsoever it is due to them, give to them. Don't owe them. By the days of Sunday Olise, there was, an interview that came out where one of the players then was playing back home in Nigeria. Foreign-based players were paid $5,000 and whatsoever, and he was paid in Naira. He felt, why are you looking down on me? The captain stood up for the player. They gathered their money, returned it back to the then Football Federation and said, no, this player played. He was not on the bench. Even if he's playing back home in Nigeria, give him what you give everyone. Don't discriminate. So players are very sensitive. They know when you care. They know what comes to them. They know what they deserve. Give it to them.
Right. So let's quickly look at, you were touching on the game for Sunday.
Okay.
I'm wondering what you foresee. You have your fears?
I have my fears on paper.
Why?
Now, this is it. If we're playing against any other country, I would be more comfortable. But we're playing against the hosts. I don't just want to talk about the Anglophone-Francophone rivalry. I was in Cameroon for the AFCON tournament the last time the Nations Cup was held. I know what it was like between the Anglophone and the Francophone, speaking countries when it comes to football. You can't take it away. The rivalry will always be there.
Right.
Everyone wants to dominate. Everyone wants to win. Now, the Ivorians are similar to the Super Eagles one way or the other. Just the way the Super Eagles have talent across the world, across Europe, playing for the biggest clubs in world football. Right. The Ivorians also have players who are experienced enough. You cannot intimidate them. They are at par, just like the Super Eagles players. They may have struggled, but one way or the other, the experience counted for them, bringing them this far to the final of the tournament.
And it's their tough.
It's their tough. You can't take it away from them. Call them cats with the 9 lives. Call them the struggle or whatsoever. They are in the final.
And
That's it. 24 countries came to the tournament. The Ivorians are in the final. The elephants of Cote d'Ivoire are in the final. Financially, it is good. The two teams are guaranteed $4 million by CAF because before the tournament, CAF indeed increased the prize money. $4 million for the runners-up, $7 million for the winners of the AFCON tournament. So whichever way, the two teams are guaranteed at least $4 million. But then it is always rare to see, a team dominate and win trophies when they don't have the 12th man behind them. I don't think this will sound ridiculous. It's been a while. We saw the Eagles in the final of the AFCON tournament, 2013. About 10, 11 years ago. Now, 2013, now, we're looking at another opportunity again. We've seen the way football unified Nigerians.
Yes.
You see, the interesting thing is the fact that Nwambale, the goalkeeper of the Super Eagles, fans who could have sat in their own house to watch the
went
game.
to his father's
They went
house.
to his father's house. Said, no, we will not watch it alone.
Yeah.
You can see the unity football is bringing. One way or the other, I would have expected, Cote d'Ivoire is not far. If we can lift football fans in Nigeria to go support the Eagles,
Okay.
if the sports ministry and the federal government can
That would
rally
encourage
round
them.
to encourage them.
But we
Because,
have
see,
supporters
it's-
there already.
You have supporters there, but you are playing against the
Considering the
host
host,
country.
yeah.
The fans will come out
I want to
en
believe
masse
that
support
some
the
Nigerians
elephants
would
of
want to go there.
Some Nigerians would want to go.
Yeah, would
But
have
you
done
see,
that already.
From my
It's not late.
experience,
Yeah,
it's not late.
late.
From my experience covering the World Cup in Russia 2018, Nigeria played against Argentina. I was shocked. At a point in time, I was shouting, trying to, support the Eagles because it
You
was
left
like
your job as a reporter.
See, the interesting thing is the fact that at that stage, we needed to win. We stood a chance of moving from the group stage where we had Argentina and Iceland. So whichever I was with my green, white, green. So firstly, I'm in Nigeria before a journalist. So I was also fully involved in supporting the Eagles. But the astonishing thing, I saw Argentine fans in their thousands, buses parked outside the stadium. And after the match, I asked them, how do you
Did they
do
win?
it? They won. And they said, before every World Cup, 4 years before any football tournament, we save. But you can't take away, the economic impact of a country
Right.
from, the sporting angle also.
Absolutely.
The interchange.
Okay.
It's been a long
It's
time.
a-
I felt the way I felt on Wednesday night. But quickly, people said, even though they've gotten knocks for making that statement, that the South African side actually played better, at least up before the penalty kick out in terms of the drive and all of that. Did that reflect your concerns, and how do you think that should change against this next crucial match?
Give it to the South Africans. Give it to the South Africans. You see, when you have a team that has 9-8 players that make up the national team, a club side that make up the national team, this was what the Nigerian national team was known for years back, the days of the Green Eagles, before players started, traveling abroad to say we want to play for the biggest club sides in world football. Players were from Shooting Stars, ICC, Enugu Rangers, and all that, back home in Nigeria yet. But the interesting about the South African team is Mamelodi Sundowns have no fewer than 8 to 9 players in the national team. They make up the national team. And that's interesting. When you can grow your league. See, I think the South Africans are the biggest benefits of the AFCON tournament in terms of exposure, in terms of business, because at this stage, club sides will start coming for their players. They've been able to earn their skills at the highest stage,
Nwabali is a
withstand the
beneficiary
mental
too,
toughness of the tournament.
Right.
And Nwabali also plays in South Africa. You see, that
They,
foreign
they
players.
told him not to return.
But even before the game against Nigeria, his club gave him the support he needed
Against the
against
national-
the national team.
All right. Let's quickly move over to this other sad story now, talking about the same day where Nigeria was celebrating
day.
its victory against South Africa. The family of renowned sports journalist, archivist, and analyst Kayode Tijani were mourning his death. He died at the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital after a prolonged illness. He said that the illness began since Egypt 2019 Africa Cup of Nations. I remember him, how gentle he was. Talk about any material you want in sports. You speak with Kayode Tijani, he will get it for you. He traveled, he ensured that he moved around the world to get any information he needed as far as it was sports. It's sad that this had to happen. He passed. He still continued to rest in peace. But what are your fondest memories of him?
Kayode Tijani. You see, as Katie is known, the broadcast industry in Nigeria will miss Kayode Tijani.
I tell you, I agree.
We never tapped enough from Kayode Tijani.
Absolutely.
The four walls of the newsroom. You see, Kayode Tijani is a staff you'll be proud to have in your organization. Even back home in Nigeria, he worked for the biggest media outfit you can think of.
Absolutely.
radio, TV, also print, and also
because he had
the
content.
band TV. Yeah. Now, the content aspect, how did it start? Kayode Tijani was with Fame Magazine then. The 1994 World Cup, the first time Nigeria was to appear at the FIFA World Cup. The first time the green and white flag was going to be hoisted at the men's FIFA World Cup tournament. Kayode was to cover the tournament, and they said he got to the embassy, and then the lady there asked him, "Is this your real age?" He said, "Yes." And she told him, "I'm sorry, you can't go." You know, I recall Kayode saying that even Shifalek Akinyele, everyone tried to ensure that Kayode was going to cover his first FIFA World Cup tournament. You know, that was his dream. That was what he wanted most. But it didn't happen. It was a setback. And Kayode said he was back home watching the FIFA World Cup, and he was recording every match. And that was how, you know, that drive turned into passion to say, okay, I'm loving this. So he went back in time to also get materials. You know, Kayode also boasted positively in a very humble way that in Africa, I have the best archival materials when it comes to the FIFA World Cup.
That's even the appeal for me, because apart from the fact that he had such an illustrious career at a young age, he was an editor for Fame at 26 or thereabout. But that passion of his archiving sports events, I just wonder what happens now, you know, upon his death. What was the impact of that really to the sports journalism?
Kayode remains, I wouldn't want to use the word was, Kayode remains, you know, the walking encyclopedia you can think of. Yeah. You see, content that organizations don't have, an individual like Kayode will indeed give it to you. I am sure that today, if anyone, you know, wants to have a sports TV station, there is no way you won't probably have to talk to Kayode when it comes to content.
Absolutely.
May his gentle soul continue to rest in perfect peace. But the interesting thing about Kayode was interested in the growth of everyone around him.
Yes.
Both old and young. Kayode was willing to share his experience. In fact, if you don't see Kayode from afar, when he sees you, Kayode will be the first person to call on you.
Very humble.
Very humble. You know, and it dawned on me that at a very early stage, because sometimes I asked myself, and these were probably questions would never probably discuss in depth, you know, he understood timing and he understood the aspects he wanted as a broadcast journalist and as a journalist in general.
So what are the lessons for young aspiring sports journalists, and even those who are sports journalists now, from the life and times of Kayode?
Like I said earlier, we did not tap enough from Kayode Tijani. Unfortunately, before I answer that question, Kayode was doing what they loved doing most when this fate, you know, befell on him, so to say. He was covering an international event. Kayode was someone where international stations, international organizations would call and say, we want clips and all that. But you see, the thing there is this. Kayode was a thoroughbred. Kayode is an example. Irrespective of the education and whatsoever you have, when you come to the four walls of the newsroom, you need mentors like Kayode Tijani. You need people like Kayode Tijani who will tell you, this is where I've been. This is the way it was done. You know, he spoke with arguably the biggest stars you can think of in the world of sport. And it shows that for you to get to the top, you must be a thoroughbred. He worked hard. And for a very long time, I hope that the Sports Writers Association of Nigeria, SWAN, will be able to immortalize people like Kayode Tijani.
He deserves it.
He didn't just come to take, he gave also,
also,
Give
yes.
it all.
you know, to the industry.
We'll have to leave the conversation here now.